Hey, I'm Yonik, and it's Christmas time, viewers. Yup, the time of presents, Santa Claus, sleigh bells, snow, mistletoe, Jesus' birthday, Coca-Cola, you name it. Not to mention, Christmas also has other things in it for a holiday, among them peace on earth, which I also want to happen in the gaming community.
If we're talking about conflict in the gaming community today, we're talking in terms of the platforms they play their games on. That's right, viewers, we're talking about the schism between console gamers and PC gamers. Not only am I talking about the history of the relationship between the companies that made the systems, but also my thoughts on how the people that use them for gaming. We're talking about the history first, and in that case, we're starting right when the gaming industry began, right? Well, not really. While there have been competitive things about the competition, about stuff like the Atari 2600, Intellivision, ColecoVision, Odyssey 2, and so on, we're gonna start at the third generation of gaming. Or is it actually the fourth? Or is it actually when both third-gen systems and fourth-gen systems were around? Okay, I really can't tell now, viewers, so give me a minute to figure it out, okay? Okay, now I remember, viewers. We're starting in the year 1988, when third-gen systems like the NES by Nintendo, Master System by Sega, and Atari 7800 by, of course, Atari were around. And in terms of the fourth generation of gaming, well, technically, it began a year prior with the release of the TurboGrafx-16 in Japan by NEC as a PC engine, but in that year came a more well-known fourth-gen system from Sega, the Mega Drive. It only came out in Japan that year, like the TurboGrafx-16 a year prior. While it struggled against its competition, like its predecessor in Japan, it was a success overseas after they released Sonic the Hedgehog for the system in 1991, even going so far as to briefly outsell its main competitor, the Super Nintendo, in the US. And let me tell you, viewers, this is where competitively things got nuts. In one commercial, Sega made fun of the Super Nintendo for its lack of flash processing, which suggests that their Genesis system has greater processing capabilities than the SNES. In a commercial for Sonic the Hedgehog, Danita Stokes, Donita Stokes, or whatever the commercial said. I mean, I at least got her last name Stokestra after all.
Danita Stokes, president of HAG.
Anyways,
Danita Stokes, president of HAG.
the president of HAG, or Humans Against Genesis, played by Larry Cedar, by the way, mentions Mario as a nice boy, I think. And before Sonic was even released, albeit back when the system launched in North America in 1989, Sega had "Genesis does what Nintendo don't" as the slogan for the system. Probably in order to challenge Nintendo head-on and emphasize the more arcade-like experience available on it, but whatever. So yeah, when Nintendo and Sega were rivals back then, they were like enemies of each other, as in another synonym of the term rival. And let me tell you, viewers, as for the consumers who only bought one of these two systems as their choice, well, they weren't any different from the companies who made the systems. While there were talks about Nintendo and Sega kids fighting against each other at school over which is the better system, all I know is that console fanboys truly were enemies to each other, depending on what system they prefer. As for the companies who made the systems, their enemy-like competition didn't stop there, or the fourth generation of gaming to be exact. The following generation had Nintendo and Sega follow up their 16-bit machines with the N64 and Saturn respectively, with the new kid on the block, Sony, beginning their PlayStation brand of systems with obviously the PlayStation. By the way, no, we're not counting the 3DO or Atari Jaguar, which by the way, just so happens to be Atari's last gaming system before exiting the console market and merging into GTS Inc. in 1996. Not to mention, 1996 is the same year the Nintendo 64 launched, and because the N64 got better reception than the Jaguar, write down the fact that the N64 was honest about its number of bits, while the Jaguar was said by some people to actually be 32-bit instead of 64. I gotta say, Nintendo does what Atari don't. Anyways, back then, or the 5th generation of gaming to be exact, Sega still acted like they, Nintendo and Sony, were enemies to each other, and I have proof in 2 Sega Saturn commercials, with one mocking the N64 and another mocking the PlayStation. In Sega's anti-N64 commercial, they called Nintendo Pretendo and claimed that their Saturn has more games than the N64. And in their anti-PlayStation commercial, they called a PlayStation Plaything and claimed that their Saturn is more powerful than the PlayStation. Let's say that back then, Sega might have been sad and angry, both in tears, because their Saturn system sold awful compared to the competition.
As for the system's fanboys back then, well, I think their opinions on different systems match those of the company, so I don't think I need to go into that any further, but I do know this: even if being a rival is like being an enemy, an opponent, or whatever, you don't necessarily need to be entirely against him, her, or it. In fact, it's okay to appreciate your rival's strengths in general. It shows that we're both good sports, and that we're only doing it in order to see who gets it first, whether you really want it or not. And let me tell you, viewers, I'm not just saying this for a reason I'll explain later on in this video, but also to inform you all that there does exist a time in which console makers actually didn't treat each other like enemies, and that all they want to do about themselves is to see who gets more popularity in the gaming industry.
To begin with, I looked for some sources to help me on my research on this console wars and fanboys topic, but I honestly couldn't find one, so I gotta admit, I won't be the best at this topic, so... Anyways, I think they, or the console companies to be exact, started to treat each other like just competitors as opposed to enemies at the latest, at the start of the 8th generation of gaming when Nintendo launched their Wii U system in 2012. In 2015, in the middle of the Wii U's life cycle, Nintendo's president at the time, Satoru Iwata, died at the age of 55 via complications from bile duct cancer. Not only did Nintendo of America decide not to post anything on social media that day in honor of Mr. Iwata, but also their rivals, Microsoft and Sony, mourned their loss of a president of a gaming company as well. And let me tell you folks, that ain't all. Nintendo participated in Xbox's 15th and 20th birthdays by congratulating them for their achievements, and after the latter birthday, Xbox openly praised Nintendo's Breath of the Wild, like everyone back when the game came out in 2017. Microsoft let their characters Banjo and Kazooie in Nintendo's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, with the game's director, Masahiro Sakurai, not being afraid to persuade gamers to play their games on Xbox, and last but certainly not least, crossplay. Repeat, crossplay. Not only do all three console companies, along with PC and mobile gaming companies, support it, but also, back when PlayStation decided not to add crossplay support for their PlayStation systems back in 2018, not only did Nintendo and Microsoft promote crossplay via trailers about and stuff, but also they teamed up to troll Sony for not allowing crossplay in their systems. When you look at the history of the console wars and stuff like that, after knowing all of this, damn, have we come a long way since this.
And what if you don't have blast processing?
Now we know that console companies used to treat each other like enemies, but now they treat each other like just competitors. So, since they changed, that means the fanboys and fangirls who own these systems have changed as well, right? Nope.
Yeah, unlike the console companies who I think forgave each other for being rivals to each other, the fanboys and fangirls who owned these systems didn't. In fact, they were still at war with each other just for owning different systems alone, which let me tell you ain't fair. So, what? You're telling me there was never a time when console fanboys respected the rivals of their beloved gaming console brand? Damn it.
Okay, I'm now done talking about the history of the relationship between console companies. But wait a minute, viewers, wait a minute. That's not all, because it's now time to talk about my feelings on the people who use them for gaming.
To begin with, like I said, it ain't fitting. I mean, it doesn't match that console companies can get along, but not the fanboys who bought the systems. I mean, sure, console companies don't get along all the time, but the fanboys do the opposite all the time. How about for once, console fanboys and fangirls will actually get along despite owning different systems? That would be nice, right? No? Well, even then, it ain't right to go against a rival of your choice console brand solely for being a rival to your choice console brand. If you can only afford a console from one company, you don't need to go against its rivals. That's like going against a different country and its movies solely because you don't live there. You don't need to go against a country's content solely because you don't live in that country. Not to mention, you only buy that console to play video games. And if you can't get a certain game you want because it's exclusive to what you don't have, going against it is just stupid. You're only buying the system to play the games, not to worship the damn thing like it's a sacred item created by God himself. Not to mention, when I use the term gaming when mentioning how fanboys participate in it, I usually do it in quotations because sometimes they don't even use the systems for gaming. I think they just use it as a sacred idol created by God and treat the competition like it's an unholy item created by Satan himself. Guys, people only use the system for gaming, not for worship, so wake up. Besides, if you can afford a console from a different company, nothing's wrong with it. Owning two consoles by different companies won't cause some catastrophe to your life or any other like that. Me, I can afford multiple systems from different companies, and I was never affected by it. Besides, your choice system isn't your deity or your family, and its rivals aren't the devil, Hitler, ISIS, or any other evil stuff like that.
On about me, well, let me tell you, viewers, no, I was never a console fanboy in my life. I never went against a rival console company just for being a rival console company because I knew that would be stupid. And let me tell you, viewers, in terms of my choice gaming brand, well, first it became Nintendo, then it became Xbox, and then it became Nintendo again. However, not only is there more to that, but also, it's not to say that I went against a rival console company just for being a rival console company because, like I said, I knew it was stupid. However, I don't know if I'll be releasing a video about that in the future or not, but if I do, it will definitely be for another day. So, I'll let you know, okay?
Anyways, in terms of conflict between console fanboys and fangirls, I'm doing console brands as in the companies who makes both the handhelds and consoles as long as they are made by the same company, so I don't need to go into further detail about the relationship about consoles and handhelds, but alas, we're also including the PC Master Race camp. And fortunately, no more, because I won't go further here. About the history of the relationship between PC gaming and console gaming, well, here's my knowledge of it. It's basically the same as the one solely about the console makers, except the PC doesn't have just one developer, and I didn't see or hear of any comment about console gaming from PC gaming companies. And if you want more about it, I'm honestly sorry because I don't know much more about it. Anyways, about PC gaming fanboys and fangirls, well, they're no different from console fanboys and fangirls. They go against console gaming for not being like PC gaming, and that's it. Maybe it has something to do with PCs being better at functioning than consoles in terms of gaming, but just because it's best doesn't mean you need to not own other stuff. In fact, apparently, there exists stuff that make consoles welcome in this world, like lack of customization.
Their elitism for PC gaming makes them the second worst group of gamers in my book. The third worst would be Nintendo fanboys, who I think gaming literally needs to be only like Nintendo and that's it, and their elitism to Nintendo in every way. And the single worst, that would be, believe it or not, worse than console fanboys and fangirls who, depending on what system they have, only like that brand and go heavily against the competition. Console fanboys and fangirls in reverse, who hate one brand of gaming consoles so much and appreciate the competition for no reason. Repeat, no freaking reason whatsoever. To be honest, viewers, at most, I had some experiences with these console fanboys and fangirls explaining some issues with the accuracy, not that I'm aware of. But the same people in reverse, I definitely went in there. An example of that would be a YouTuber named Phoenix Wright Nintendo Switch Master Race, or at least something like that. I can't find it anymore now, probably because I think he learned his lesson, but back when I experienced his content, his elitism against the Xbox brand angered me. For he didn't even show me a reason for him to hate the Xbox brand in the first place. Yeah, you can now see why they're the worst ones. So why am I making this a Christmas video, you ask? Well, Christmas is Jesus' birthday, right? Well, given that and his relation to peace on Earth is nice and can do for a birthday present to him. So I think the same should happen to the gaming community, especially to console fanboys and fangirls. So I want them to stop being elitists and start appreciating the competition in order to add up for more peace on Earth. And there you have it, viewers, my Christmas message to the gaming community. I hope you all liked it.
Earlier in this video, You knew I said that console makers now appreciate each other for their achievements in the industry, right? Well, back in November 2020, the release month for both the Xbox Series X and S and PS5 systems, the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, openly despised console fanboys, even going so far as to claiming them to be the worst things about gaming in general. Not to mention, he openly describes them as fans of one console who want to see others fail. See what you're doing wrong, fanboys and fangirls? That sums up this whole situation nowadays. It's not fair that console companies can get along today without their fanboys doing the same thing. Fanboys and fangirls like that in general aren't uncommon though, for there do exist fangirls and fanboys in other fields like science fiction, superhero comics, sports, science, and the fate of Clayton Carmine in Gears of War 3. For some reason, to be honest, I don't think I'll be dealing with their troubles, so I'll just stick with the gaming ones. And by the way, I think the rest should do the same thing. Finally get along and appreciate the competition. But a thing for console fanboys and fangirls is that not only do they disrespect the competition, but also they make the competition, scratch that, the three console makers feel bad whether or not they support them depending on their preferences. That's why I made my Christmas message for them to finally stop fighting and get together, like it does to wars in general, I think. However, the unfortunate truth is that doing so won't be easy for them. But to be honest, would you blame me? After all, I ain't Martin Luther King Jr. reincarnated. No. But the very least I did was try, like everyone else who does that job in confronting console fanboys and fangirls, and teaching them some lessons about respect for the competition, in case my wish for peace within the gaming community in terms of console competition won't come true easily. The very least I can do is beg for it. Like this, to console fanboys and fangirls, will you all please at least get along with each other and actually appreciate the competition ever? I mean, console makers appreciate each other for their own achievements, so why can't you? That's my plea for the gaming community. I did the best I could, so thank you.
And there you have it, viewers. My video about console competition and console fanboys and my Christmas message to the gaming community. So thanks for watching. I hope you all liked it. And now tell me your opinion on this whole situation. Whether or not you are a console fanboy or fangirl in your life, what your favorite brand of console gaming is, and whatever. Let me know in the comments. Happy holidays, and let me tell you, viewers, I'm ending this video with another Christmas message. Not to the gaming community, but to racism in general, so here it is. Their skin color and ancestry don't affect their humanity whatsoever. As human beings, they're fine. So stop. Now! I've had enough of this, so I'll say it again, but stop. Now. Thank you, and happy holidays.